While we're doing this, my name is Bryan DeBates, Chief Operations Officer of a System Educational Consulting in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And what I'm going to do is just have my panel come up, or my panel, our panel, come on up and go ahead and have a seat. We'll try to get this going as quickly as possible since we're a little behind schedule. And while they're coming up, what we're going to do is just take a minute or two to introduce ourselves and who we're with and what we do, and then we're going to come back around and each of us is going to talk a little bit about what we do. And after that, if there is time remaining, we'll definitely open the floor up for questions. All right, looks like we are about set. James, do you want to go ahead and start with your introduction? We'll just go down the line and then we'll come back around.
Sure. Hello, everybody. I'm James Welch, and I am the co-owner and founder of Progressive Musicians, a company that is dedicated to helping musicians of all ages achieve their goals and advance artistically. And through one of our most biggest projects currently, and originally and currently, is through competition with educational components throughout to help motivate, musicians of all ages, mostly young students, to keep working and striving toward their goals and make them feel great about what they're doing, even the ones that quite can't win the grand prize at any given moment. Our goal is that maybe someday they can work really hard and earn the grand prize and still feel good about the steps that they're making in between.
Thank you, James. Damien?
Hey everybody, and thank you for being here and giving us this time. My name is Damian Lopez, and I'm the Chief Technical Officer for the Infamy Institute. It's a nursing college in West Palm Beach, Florida. My career has let me work with people from all around the world, all different aspects of life, and I've made it my personal mission to come in and try to, bring about change to education with the use of technology. Okay?
Hi everyone, I'm thrilled to be here. I'm Dr. Linda Bradford. I'm the founder and Chief Technology Officer of The View, Virtual Immersive Educational Worlds, Inc. What we try to do is elevate lives through education. And these tools, these technology tools are amazing these days. And I'll tell you a little bit more about what we do, but that's what we like to do, is elevate lives through technology-powered educational tools.
And my name is Mark Plitzowite. I am the president and CEO of EdKey Inc. We are a support organization for 22 different schools and programs exclusively in the state of Arizona. We offer everything from deaf education to emotionally disabled education. We also have programs set up for students that have been sex trafficked. We also offer an online virtual world, micro schools. We do just about everything when it comes to education.
Thanks, everyone. So this panel got together yesterday for lunch, and we spent about 2 hours just kind of kicking around ideas and talking about what we are doing to innovate education and why we are here, the perfect venue for us to share what we're doing. The conference seems to be about disrupting and innovating education. And what we do at a system is we try to connect these companies, these organizations that are doing cutting edge, that are doing innovating education, and connect them with the schools, the school districts, countries, embassies that want to extend and improve their STEM education. And yesterday during the discussion, while we were sitting around kind of explaining what we were doing, the one thing that we all kind of agreed upon was that in this post-pandemic world, we saw the strides that were made in technologies and education, how technology was integrated, and while for the most part it was a Band-Aid approach, we fixed, the schools did what they could with what they had, we fixed what we could, and as a whole, we all kind of agreed that education did a great job in taking steps forward on where education we feel should be in the future. And you're going to hear from this group, and while some of the ideas that you hear from us you may think are impossible or maybe crazy, there's a sign in my office that says crazy is just what other people think is too hard or too scary for them to do. And so what we want to share with you is what we are doing in education around the world and what we feel has to happen with education. And so what I would like to do is we'll start with Linda, if that's okay. Linda, you ready?
Sure.
Okay.
I just need my little clicker, I guess, to advance
There
the
you go.
slides. Thank you so much.
And so we'll let Linda share what she is doing with education, and again, we'll just go around the panel, and then afterwards we will open up for questions.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brian. I have a Forbes quote that I thought was really insightful. It said, "It is a fact that online learning is the future and will undoubtedly replace land-based learning." And actually, if we think about it, that's what happened this past year. We were forced to actually go online almost primarily with every school in the country. And we did our best, as Brian said, to put a Band-Aid on it. But the Forbes article also went through and said teachers are in need of more robust teaching tools like video game technology, VR and AI technologies, so that they can really engage their students. I know many of you probably saw the same thing that I did with students who were on a Zoom call, and in the meantime, they were down here playing a video game on their phones. And so this is the type of thing that we need to avoid. We need to actually make the video game technology the center of the learning paradigm, not something off to the side. We can capture those students' attention when we help them learn in a video game technology. I think honestly we're at the brink of having a digital renaissance where we can actually come and flourish and have students' attention and their engagement. So that's what I'm very excited to talk about today. Currently, there are about 7.5 billion people, 7.5 billion people playing video games today. That's pretty amazing. That's half the world's population. So if we think about turning that excitement for this kind of involvement into doing something productive like learning, I think that's where we can really reach students. Language learning in 3D is our specific area that we actually specialize in. And if you look at the screen, I guess, let's see, we want to go ahead and put back the picture of the monks and the Sherpas. So we have a friend that actually is a photographer with the National Geographic, and she went up to the base camp of Mount Everest, and she was taking photographs of the monks there and also the Sherpas. And I'm not sure if I have to press my clicker, but I'm not sure where it is, but there we go. Okay, here's actually one of the Sherpas that she photographed, and let's see here if we can, and here he is. Actually, he has downloaded our app, Fluent Worlds, and is playing to learn English on our apps at 26,000 feet. This is truly an amazing thing that to me was thrilling. He was so intent upon learning English because he wanted to set up a kitchen for the trekkers so that he could earn money for his family. What happens to the children in that area is if they don't get to go to school, if their parents don't have enough money to send them to school, they fall into human trafficking. And so it really is a sobering thought to think that our app, what we do, is helping people in a very positive way and elevating their lives. So that's, and I'll go to the next one here. I have just a very short little video here that will help you understand how we do this. We actually let people have characters and choose their own clothing and hair, etc., and be able to walk around as characters in context. And so I'll go ahead and I guess it will just play if I click it.
As seen in this
Hopefully.
powerful virtual conference
There we
from the
go.
nation of Colombia, the Fluent World's Online Language Academy is a communication tool that combines the best of platforms like Skype and Zoom with immersive 3D virtual worlds. Students have the ability to personalize their own characters and travel through more than 40 scenarios designed for contextual learning of languages. It is the
Las
world's
Vegas.
most complete and effective remote language learning system. Using 3D modeling and speech recognition technology built in collaboration with the man that led the development of the Amazon Echo, Fluent Worlds uses its virtual immersion method where students learn language in context. No more flashcards and vocabulary lists. Our goal is to teach people through immersion, and the results have, as one user said, changed the world of language learning forever.
So this is the exciting field that we are in, and I'm so devoted to it because I feel like we really can help people's lives improve. Like I said, language learning is our primary goal, but we have something out there called 3D Meet, where you actually can go out onto our 3dmeet.com website and use all of these 3D worlds for meetings, for business meetings, and for other types of educational courses. And so this is kind of our exciting thing that we're involved with and hope to spread across the world, where our app, Fluent Worlds, is at 5 stars on iTunes, the highest rated language learning app on the store. So we're excited to share that with all of you and share our thoughts about innovation and immersion in that field. But I guess I can turn the time back to you.
All right, thank you, Linda. Okay, going along with the technology theme, next we're going to turn it over to Damien, and he's going to share what they are doing, what they feel is the next step in the education sector.
Thank you. Hey, everybody. So I kind of want to jump back a little bit to talking about the beginning of the pandemic, because that's really where we, us as an organization got our start. And something that I realized when, we were at the height of the pandemic was that there was, dramatic shift in how education was being delivered, from the traditional methodologies to being synchronized learning or online or even using simulation in some, aspects of it. What I really noticed was that there was a big digital divide between the technology, the students, and the teacher. It's not an easy, transition for a lot of people to go through what we just went through in this past year with, students at home and having the kids at home. I believe that technology and virtual learning is the future of education, and I see a better connected world full of virtual classrooms, simulations, digital payment systems, and much more, where educators and students can better connect in a digital metaverse, similar to what Miss Linda was going over here. What I'm here to talk about a little bit today is a project that I'm involved in. It's still a developing idea, and I can't go on and talk too much about it, but I will do my best to explain what it is that we're working on. The project is called Tuition Token, and for those of you that are familiar in the cryptocurrency space, it's an ERC20 token built on the Ethereum main network that will tokenize tuition payments and student investments. Tuition Token is an alternative payment method for higher education-related costs, such as housing, meal plans, books, and even transportation. Our token can also be issued as a scholarship credit, used to pay off student debts, or invest in the cryptocurrency market. When someone registers with Tuition Token on the blockchain, the user can seamlessly search, filter, and apply for universities globally using our system. With cryptocurrencies on the rise, tokenization is the future of the economy, where every person and company can have their own token that they use for crowdfunding, trading, governing, voting, or payments. We aim to be a leader in this digital space by offering schools this alternative and building a digital college ecosystem where this token can be used in exchange for academic services. To learn more, you can visit mytuitiontoken.com. And with that, I'd like to thank you and hand the rest of my time over to the next panelist.
Okay, Thanks, Damien. All right, James, will you discuss what you've been doing with progressive musicians and, since we were talking about the pandemic, talk about what evolved during that time with you.
Certainly, thank you. Yeah, it's, I don't know, it's quite ironic. The idea that we had back in 2019, well before that, but we started rolling summer of 2019 is, how do we bring the music competition experience online and make it motivating and engaging to everybody? And little did we know that everything was going to shut down 6 months later, which was maybe about 2 weeks after we launched the idea publicly. And at first there was this panic, and we were like, what do we do? And it was like, well, everything's going to be online soon. As far as I see it, we're just ahead of the curve here. There was just the luck of the draw here. But what motivated us to create this experience was just being musicians ourselves and competing in many competitions all over the world is just the cost of it. Travel all over the world, get up on stage for 5 minutes, and thank you, next. And if you're lucky, maybe you go to the second round, but at like $3,000 later, and that you just don't make it to the next level or win any prize, which is understandable. We never complained about that, but it's a lot of time and expense, and it can be discouraging. And we're like, how can we do better for that? And first we thought, well, let's put it online, because that eliminates more than half of the travel expense right there. But we decided we would have our contestants make videos and send it, and promise them a non-elimination round that comes along with critiques and solutions from expert judges and musicians like myself and my colleagues that they can take with a grain of salt, or they can take every word of it and improve their performances. So we would give them the critique, send it back, they work with their teachers and do whatever they can, and 2 weeks later make an improved video that they send in. And from there we determine who would win some of the grand prizes. But we thought even people that don't win the grand prizes, are going to stride forward, and there's going to be some sort of satisfaction of a job well done, and they have their before and after videos to prove it. And I think that it's just, someone yesterday in one of the keynotes was talking about having small goals and small prizes, and that's just, we're kind of on the same lines there. It's like, okay, you didn't win the grand prize, but look how far you came in just 2 weeks, and how much further could you go now if you had 2 more weeks, and with the next competition or the next project, whatever you may be working on. So it's kind of hard to explain here. I have a video to show you, which we'll show you in a second here. But our grand prize winners were given the opportunity to present themselves at Carnegie Hall, and that's an expensive endeavor. So we offer that very much like we all have the opportunity to speak here today, where you can go to New York, receive your prize there, and play on one of the most prestigious stages in the world. And so now that has not happened yet, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. It was supposed to happen in December, and it's not going to happen until February of 2022 now. So we got to figure out how to restructure that. But let's play the video, because this will show a little bit more of what I'm talking about. Could we cue that up? Thanks.
My name is David Cortez. I am a saxophonist here at San Jose State University. This competition has been really fun, and I've really learned a lot. The whole process of it is really quite great, and it's really been helpful for me to improve as a player and really work on my consistency, getting the feedback from the master classes and from the first round I think that's something that's really cool that should be incorporated into more competitions, and it really helps me to ask, like, what can I do better for the next round, and how can I keep working? Because when you turn on the camera, you start to get a little nervous. So really just working on that consistency for me has really been what I've learned a lot from this competition.
My name is Cortez. I am 10 years old. I live in Kiel and I play the violin. This competition makes me happy because I can perform. That's what I love.
My name is Junwen Liang. I'm originally from China, but now based in State College, Pennsylvania. I particularly enjoy the format of this competition, especially during the first 2 rounds, where you just recorded your pieces and waited for the judges to give you some comments. Then you will record those pieces again and show how much improvement you made during the process.
Join us for our long overdue 2020 Winners Recital at Carnegie Hall, February 22nd, 2022.
So in a nutshell, that's what we're doing. One of the things we've added in the last year is a live masterclass component. So as one of the prizes, when we get our semifinalists were able to perform, when we just did it on Zoom, but perform for some experts from around the world and get live criticism and solutions and improve upon their performances before competing in the final round. So it's really brought a lot of people together from around the world, more than we expected. And someone was saying the other day, trying to remember it, but why should we have to travel all the way across the world to work with some of the best in the field when we can do it online? And I feel like that's what we're doing now, and many of our contestants have responded beautifully to that. And I mean, as you can see, that was just a few highlights. The little girl that played the violin was in one of our original competitions, and she didn't place, and now she's placed to go to Carnegie because she's just been motivated to make so much improvement. And it's just been a really rewarding experience, and we're very proud of what we're doing. So thank you.
All right, thank you, James. Okay, we heard from Linda and Damien what's progressing in the digital side of education. We heard from James on that transition point, working with the students. Now I'd like to turn it over to Mark and have him explain on the other end of it, the receiving end of all of this innovation, what he is doing with his students.
Thank you, Brian. It's interesting because we're at a point now in education where if we lose this opportunity to transform how we're providing education, we've lost. We've lost a generation of students, possibly future generations of students, just because we're sitting back and maybe going back on what used to work, what's always worked. But has it? And so that's one of the interesting things about my organization, is that we have 22 unique schools and programs, each with their own individual mission and vision that meet the needs of the communities that we serve. We aren't a cookie cutter model of education where, hey, this model works, so let's take this and then let's put this in this neighborhood over here. No, we go to the neighborhoods and we say, listen, we'd like to provide you an educational option. What do you want? What do you need? What are your focuses? And we really tie it into what the communities need. That's a completely different mind shift from a traditional public district or some other charter operators around the United States where they have their specific model and they stick with it. We found a lot of success in what we've done because of that, the community then buys into this is what the schools are doing. One of the biggest transitions that we had was when COVID shut down all of our brick and mortar schools. We have an online option. It's actually our largest LEA is our online school. And within that online school, we have multiple options, including the micro school models. If you're not familiar with what micro schools are, they're 7 to 10 students that meet in a family's home. And we help direct all the curriculum, all the special education, all of these other things that traditional public school students would receive, except these students get it in modules of 7 to 10 in grade bands. So, you can have K3, you can have 6-8, you can have 4-6, whatever that configuration is that those parents want, that's what those models are. And so we are the leader in the state of Arizona for sure with a number of students that participate in micro schools. There are a lot of other groups that are getting into that game. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with the group Prenda. There's also Adamo Education. There are a couple other groups. Pod Academies has come in now. But what we do as an organization is we support those groups to make sure that those are the options that the parents want in those communities, in those neighborhoods, giving the power back to the parents instead of and I'm going to say this as nice as I can, the bureaucrats that tend to hold down educational progress. And so we need to enact on that as a society of this is how we're going to advance education. These are the things we're going to bring to the table. These are the options. We're not going to say no, we're going to say let's figure out how to do it. Let's not hamstring ourselves into going back into the old models. I'm going to ask anyone to raise their hand. Have any of you ever attended a single room schoolhouse where there's all 8 grades, let's say K-8, all in one classroom? I did. My first school was a K-8 in one room. I had one other classmate. So in a way, we've kind of gone back to some traditional type things when we talk about these pods and these micro schools. We've kind of gone back that way, but all of these individuals here bring things to the table that enhance that opportunity. And that's the key, is to be able to find individuals that can offer additional support and additional programming into those more traditional type school settings. When the pandemic shut us down, we were able to pivot and get 80% of our students back engaged in education within a week. There were schools that were shut down for months where these kids didn't get any services. And I'm talking special education services, I'm talking food service, everything that these kids need or want on a daily basis so that they can be successful. We were able to pivot within a week and get everybody up and running at about an 85 to 90% participation rate. So the technology is needed. Absolutely, it's needed. Now it's just a matter of figuring out how do we integrate it all into those safe spaces for students, because that was another piece that went missing, was the safe space for students that couldn't attend because schools were closed. Who knows what was happening behind the doors at their home? I have one school that's 80% homeless. 80% of the student population is homeless. We have to adjust our bus routes every single night to find those kids at different shelters when we find out where their parents end up. A lot of them are single parent families, but now with rents going up and with cost of housing going up, we're going to see an increase in the number of students that we have that are homeless. And we need to be able to provide all of these options that have been presented already. We have to figure out a way to get them to those types of students so that they can remain engaged. Because the average homeless student is out of school 6 months a year. 6 months every year, a student misses school if they're homeless. That's a travesty. That puts them so much farther behind their peers. And a lot of people tie that into the socioeconomic piece. Well, yeah, it's there because they don't have the means to get to school. That's why we adjust our routes the way we do. That's why we do what we do to make sure that every one of those students gets that opportunity to attend school every single day. The sex trafficked students. That's a huge, huge issue right now. We have 100 students that we provide educational opportunities for that have been sex trafficked from the ages of 6 to 16. And we have 100 of those students in an undisclosed location, obviously, for various reasons. But we're able to provide educational opportunities for those kids to be able to try to give them some sense of normalcy back in their lives. These are things that don't get talked about a lot. Do the public districts do these types of things? I'm sure they do. They don't talk about it. They don't talk about how they're going to integrate what this panel is bringing to the table to help advance education. They don't talk about those types of things. The worst thing that we can do is go back to saying, yep, the traditional public education model is what works. Because if we do that, we've lost. We have lost students, we have lost, and I'm going to go to integrity. We've lost integrity at that point too. So I thank you all for your time, and I'll turn it back over.
All right, thank you, Mark. All right, we're going to go back to the digital topic a little bit. And Linda, I'm going to direct this first question at you.
Sure.
You had mentioned the video game technology that you're incorporating into your products. What impact does video game technology have on student engagement that you're doing, and how can that elevate online education to reverse like student Zoom fatigue?
Right, so if we looked at, I've read many, many articles about Zoom fatigue, and it's real. Looking at a static image and et cetera, this is not good for the students. And so what we do is we transcend that by having them actually interact as a character, as themselves. In fact, this very minute, we have our 3D modelers and animators actually creating a program where you'll be able to take a photograph of yourself, and that will transition directly onto your character. And so this starts to become super interactive, and the way that teachers teach with this can also help the students come along. If they say, let's all run over to this new location, then if you see characters that are static, you say, okay, John, you need to come with us, and let's go to this next module that we're teaching. And so this becomes something that they actually have to be working with their keyboards or on their phones to be able to move their characters or to fly or to teleport and these sorts of things. And so it keeps things really moving. As you know, I mean, I taught on the university level for 11 years at BYU, and you have to, as a teacher, be able to keep those students involved minute by minute. And this particular tool really helps teachers do that, especially in the online practice. And I will also mention, I noticed James mentioned something about, experts all over the world. One of the other things that we're really passionate about is being able to democratize education. We want to see the school in Ghana that we've worked with be able to, instead of having to fly the professors from Harvard to Ghana for 6 weeks at a time, we want them to go into a very robust, enjoyable setting with someone that's, at Harvard, and that be able to connect with them in Ghana. That is also a really big point that we want to do. We want to connect experts all over the world in these settings where they feel social, where it feels really enjoyable and contextual. And like I said, especially for learning language, that immersive quality is super important. And the sociality is really important too. We had a test this past week with 26 kids in Cairo, Egypt. And they came right into the platform. Within seconds, they already knew how to fly and maneuver. And then at the end of the class, this was the litmus test. The teacher actually told the students, you now have to stop. You have to leave the class now. When does that happen? Normally kids are out of the class the minute that the bell rings. But they were lingering on because they really enjoyed it. So I would just say that involvement, they have to do things with, clicking on things, etc. And that keeps them awake, that keeps them involved. And being social, we had another student say, I've tried Zoom, I've tried Google Hangouts, I've tried Microsoft Teams. Nothing seemed social until 3D Meet. And I think that's really key because you're walking around with other characters, you're seeing the things that they're enjoying, you're making memories together, you're looking at artwork together in an art gallery, or you're in downtown Las Vegas looking at the Bellagio fountains. So it becomes very, very fun and very enjoyable. And so that's what people want. They want to connect with other people. So I think all those things can really be helpful.
Okay, thank you. Okay. All right, I'm going to panic the panel here for a second. I'm going to go off script just because of what Linda was saying and what Mark had said previously. So I want to direct this at you, Mark, real quick. we've all heard about the technology gap, and it became very prevalent during the pandemic of those that had access to technology and who didn't. So when we're talking about VR and AR and what Linda is doing, and some of the things that Damien had mentioned, how do we get this into the hands of like students at some of your schools? What's the plan, or how do you hope or plan to integrate this technology with your students?
Well, I think it depends from school to school. My different student populations, I have a couple back to basics schools that are very limited with what they do with technology, but then I have STEAM and STEM schools that are fully integrated with technology. So the key is, and this is where the business side of education comes in. A lot of people don't like to talk about that part of it either, but our school leaders have to be business leaders at the same time. They have to be able to figure out financially, how can we get from the funds that we're receiving, how can we get those funds to stretch into getting the new and updated equipment into the hands of our students? And fortunate for most, and I'm going to say most public districts and schools out there, the federal government pumped so much money into the coffers of these schools this last year. When they talk about fully funded schools, I still haven't ever heard a number that is fully funded. And I don't think we ever will hear a number that's fully funded. But to be able to take those funds that the federal government has sent in and to advance education, that's where that's where this is going to come in. Because it's billions and billions of dollars that the federal government here in the United States has pumped into education this year to be used over the next 2 and 3 years. What are they going to do with that money? And I know what we're going to do with it. We're going to invest in the future of our students. And that's got to be our main focus, is making sure that if there is new and updated technology that is focused specifically on getting students to the outcomes that we need, then that's what we're going to do. We're going to invest in that. And number one, here in the United States, is literacy. Figuring out literacy. If a kid can't read at 3rd grade or 8th grade, how do we expect them to do math, word problems? How do we expect them to do anything else? Literacy is the number one focus that we must have on students starting in preschool. So I don't know if that really answered the question completely, but yes, we as an organization, EdKey, will take funds that we have that have been able to come in from the federal government, and we can apply that to advancing technology for all of our students.
Thank you. Okay, so along that lines then, James, how you've obviously had experience with this, and how do you think we bring teachers and the community together through online learning?
Well, it's kind of funny. I wrote that question myself, and now I'm thinking, what is the answer? No, but guess I'm just second guessing because I'm a little nervous. But anyway, well, what we've been doing at Progressive Musicians is kind of an online learning program in disguise, not just for students and contestants, but also the teachers. Many of us are teachers here, whether we're teachers in a school or we've just taught something at some point, whether it's private instruction or class. And I teach at a university part-time in Fredonia, New York, and I often say to my piano students, you got to try it this way, you got to practice it this way, you got to do this and this and this. And they're like, okay. I mean, how many of you have had that happen, where they're just saying the right thing back to you, but you're not sure if they're really getting it? Yeah, there's a few. And but then you have one of your friends or colleagues or someone in there for a workshop, and all of a sudden they say the same thing to the student that you've been saying to them for like months or a year, and the student goes, oh, okay, and even the teacher is just like, oh, well, I never thought to say it like that. And now we've done that in person quite a bit, but online, it kind of tags off of what Linda was saying a little bit and kind of what I was saying before, where we have the best people that we can find from around the world online giving different workshops. And it's not, we haven't just done these workshops for the contestants, but also for the teachers and the community of musicians, in that we never stop learning as teachers or even as individuals. We have advanced degrees, we have no degrees, but we're still learning from each other and from experience. And our online workshops have just done so much with teaching teachers new tips by watching other people teach and getting different results out of students. And I guess where I'm going with this, with the music, is a little difficult to explain because a lot of it's abstract. There's no methodology that's one exact, which is also the great thing, is that when we're coming together as a community or online as a community across the globe, the possibilities are endless for what might be said or accomplished, or just any creative ideas that are shared. And just, a lot of fun and a lot of satisfaction. And the whole basis of my career has just been off of what someone else has said or done that I've just copied. I'm sure we've all been that way, but it's really, COVID's really helped in a way. I hate to say that, but in just bringing more people together because of the computer, and we've just been very lucky for that.
Thanks, James. How are we doing on time back there? Anybody? How are we doing on time? Okay.
Ooh.
All right. About 5 minutes. Okay. Should I open up the questions for? Okay. All right. Then, since we're kind of running out of time a little bit, does anybody have any questions for the panel? Well, I'm not going to let you out early if you don't have questions. We're going to sit here. Oh, yep. There we go.
I went to India 2 years ago to visit the Medical Council of India, and we had, we are allowed to use recruiters in a lot of far-fetched areas in different countries. And so one of our recruiting firms wanted us to come meet him in his hometown, which was in a state 8 hours away. We drove that 8 hours to go up, and I looked around, and all I saw in that town was IELTS training. That was all that I saw, posters behind auto rickshaws. And as we went through the countryside, all I saw was English training centers. And these were children paying entire month's salaries for their parents, learning English to be able to be accepted into schools. So I'm not sure whether you've entertained that thought, or you've visited, or you've seen, but something like that would save a lot of kids a lot of money.
I completely agree with that. It's really amazing. In fact, we have just been working the last 3 weeks with a group in India that they're very connected to 400,000 CS centers. And we really want to be able to bring this to the world. Honestly, every time we get comments on our app, thank God for Fluent Worlds. I now can feed my family. I was able to learn English, and so now my payment is 10 times more than it used to be. And what we have built in, as you might have seen in the video, is that speech recognition technology. This is what's really important. I think sometimes kids will get some English in school, but they can't speak it. And that to me is the important part. And so the speech recognition technology that was built by our Jeff Adams, who's on our board, he was the one that developed the Alexa. And so we've created a speech recognition engine where it's on the phoneme level. So if I were supposed to have said nice to meet you, but I said nice to moat you, the next screen that comes up, you'll see the M as green, the T as green, but that middle syllable as red. So it's such targeted practice, it goes so much faster. We had a young man from Colombia who couldn't form words, English words at all. His boss said, okay, if you can teach my apprentice to speak English by Christmas, we'll promote you to our whole 120,000 person university. It's the largest university in Colombia. He learned in 10 weeks because he kept practicing with the voice recognition. So we really do hope to roll this out. And again, that's the asynchronous app is Fluent Worlds. But then we have our online Fluent Worlds Academy that's live, where it's the same different environments and such. So the teacher can say, go home and play Adventures 1 and 2 on your app, and then come back into the live platform tomorrow, and we'll practice as a group. And so I truly feel like we just have so much there's so many great things out there that we can help people with this technology. So I appreciate that thought.
Any other questions? No? Okay, then I think we'll kind of just wrap things up, maybe if anybody has any last thoughts. One thing I do want to share before we go, I really wish you could have sat around our little fireside chat at lunch yesterday. The one thing that we all kind of agreed on, like I said in my introduction, was we've made so many great strides, even though it was kind of band-aided this past year. From a technology standpoint and connecting the world, we made so many strides this past year. It's up to the people in this room to go back home and to continue that and not let us slide backwards. I have a 6-year-old daughter who goes to school in one of the better school districts in Colorado. And at the end of the year, we got a letter from the superintendent that said, we are so excited because come fall, we are going back to our old style of learning, and everyone will be in the classroom and no online learning will be allowed. And it really broke my heart, because while they maybe don't have the technology or the resources to continue what we were doing, what this panel feels together collectively is that is the future of education, whether it be all online or hybrid. And to me, I saw that as a lost opportunity. And so I think together we all just implore all of you to go back home and keep fighting for what we all, I think, collectively believe is the future of education. If we can have some of the best teachers in the world teaching collectively online, whether it be like what James does through online learning or what Linda does through VR, having students have that access is critical and I think important, and the way we all feel the future of education is going. So with that, I'm going to sign off. Any last thoughts from the panel?
Just thank you so much. Keep
Yeah,
doing the great
thank
job
you.
you're doing.
Yeah, everybody.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay.